Good evening and welcome to Election Night in America 2022. Today is May 17, and today 5 states are holding primaries that will be very important and crucial to both the Democratic and Republican parties. And we'll first start off in the state of Kentucky, where polls close at 7 p.m., where we have our first projections, and we can project that incumbent Senator Rand Paul will easily win renomination to a third term, defeating Paul Hamilton and other minor candidates that tried to unseat him. But of course, that will ultimately fail, and Rand Paul will be the winner of the Republican primary. In the Democratic primary, however, Charles Booker, who ran back in 2020 against Amy McGrath, who tried to go up against Mitch McConnell, but he lost to McGrath by a close race. But this time he's running again, and with no serious opposition, he will cruise to victory in the Democratic primary. So Charles Booker, the winner of the Kentucky Democratic primary. Polls will then close in North Carolina at 7:30 p.m. This will be also an important one to watch throughout the night, because we have the Trump-endorsed candidate Ted Budd against the former governor Pat McCrory, and we'll see how that turns out as the polls now close and we now have a major projection. In the Democratic primary, however, Sherry Beasley will easily win the nomination for Senate, defeating Rhett Newton and other candidates in the primary. But again, Sherry Beasley, the winner of the North Carolina Senate Democratic primary. However, we do have a bit of a key race alert in the Republican primary. Again, as I said, Ted Budd, Pat McCrory, the two top leading contenders in this primary, with Budd having the endorsement of former President Donald Trump and the former governor Pat McCrory. Polls do show that Ted Budd has a very wide lead over McCrory, but of course we'll have to wait for first results, but it is too early to call. And then polls will close in Pennsylvania at 8 p.m. This will be the biggest event of the night, if I'm going to be completely honest. And reason why is because we have a very crowded Republican field between Dr. Mehmet Oz, endorsed by President Trump, and we have David McCormick, who had Trump allies closely work for him, of course supporting him as well. And we have, of course, Kathy Barnett, who has been surging in the polls lately, gaining momentum, but we don't know if that's going to hold true, and if she'll be able to pull off a major upset in the primary. But of course, polls now close, and we have a key race alert. And in Pennsylvania, it is too early to call between Dr. Mehmet Oz and Kathy Barnett. Although David McCormick is not featured in the graphic, this race is expected to be a three-way race between the three leading candidates, and we have to wait for first results to get a better idea of how the race will unfold. In the Democratic primary, it is also too early to call between the Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman and Representative Connor Lamb. Polling data also suggests that Fetterman has a very wide lead over Lamb. It's still a race that we need to keep an eye on, just in case that if it's closer than expected, or Fetterman is expected to win very easily. But it is too early to call. No projection yet. In the governor's race, it is also too early to call between Doug Mastriano and Lou Barletta. Very recently, former President Trump actually threw his support in for Doug Mastriano, many of which on the conservative side had hoped that Trump would endorse Lou Barletta. However, those chances have now been absolutely obliterated, and now it is probably likely that Mastriano will win at the end of the day, but of course, it's something to still watch. It is too early to call. And we do have a projection in the governor's race for the Democratic side. Josh Shapiro will easily win. Of course, no opposition. He is the winner of the Democratic primary. And the lieutenant governor as well, Austin Davis, will defeat Brian Sims. Austin Davis, the winner of the lieutenant governor Democratic primary in the state of Pennsylvania. And of course, as time goes by, probably by like around 9:30, we will have a major projection in the state of North Carolina, and we can project that Ted Budd, the Trump-endorsed candidate, will win the North Carolina Senate Republican primary, defeating Pat McCrory. The race, Ted Budd receives 53.5% of the vote. Pat McCrory gets 28.8% of the vote. That's with about 99% of the estimated vote in. CNN projection, Ted Budd is the winner of the Senate Republican primary and will ultimately will face off against Sherry Beasley in the November elections. So this is another win for the GOP, or at least in this case, the America First movement, and for former President Donald Trump. When we have a key race alert in Pennsylvania, we're actually getting votes in. So Dr. Mehmet Oz has 142,665 votes, or 26.8%, 2,642 votes ahead of Kathy Barnett, who has a bit over 140,000 votes, 26.3%, and David McCormick's 138,887, or 26.1%. That's 50% of the estimated vote in, and we still have halfway to go, but Mehmet Oz is leading, Kathy Barnett's in second, and David McCormick is in third place. On the Democratic side, John Fetterman has 58% of the vote to Connor Lamb's 30%. Again, 50% of the vote is in. But it is looking pretty good for Fetterman at the moment, and if he does keep this momentum, he is poised to win the nomination. And in fact, we do have a major projection. And CNN can now project that John Fetterman is the winner of the Senate Democratic primary and the state of Pennsylvania, defeating Connor Lamb. The lieutenant governor will now go and face off against the Republican nominee, which we don't even know yet. But again, John Fetterman is the winner of the Pennsylvania Senate Democratic primary, defeating Connor Lamb. Here's the vote total right now. John Fetterman has 60%. Connor Lamb has 30%. Clean sweep for Fetterman, and yeah, very, very interesting. And we also have another projection on the governor's side, and we can project that Doug Mastriano, the Trump-endorsed candidate, defeats Lou Barletta. Another one of those close races that initially was a favorite for Lou Barletta until this campaign did stumble a bit, and now has the backing of former President Trump. Doug Mastriano is the winner. He has about 33.3% of the vote, defeating Lou Barletta's 22.7%. Doug Mastriano will face off against Josh Shapiro in November. Certainly will be a very, very close race to watch until then. So, again, Doug Mastriano, the winner of the governor Republican primary. And we can also project that Jeff Coleman will be the winner of the lieutenant governor's primary, defeating Teddy Daniels. And we have another key race alert in Pennsylvania. Dr. Mehmet Oz has This is what 60% of the estimated vote in. Dr. Mehmet Oz has about 176,000 votes, 27.5% to Kathy Barnett's 26%, David McCormick's at 25.6%. Mehmet Oz is ahead by close to about 10,000 votes. Still 40% of the vote left remaining. A lot could end up determining whether or not Mehmet Oz, Kathy Barnett, or even David McCormick still end up as a winner at the end of the night. Something to still keep an eye on. So it's now 11 p.m. and polls will then close in Idaho and Oregon, and we have a major projection to make right now. In Oregon, Ron Wyden, the incumbent senator, defeats Will Barlow. It will go on to win renomination to another term. On the Republican side, Joe Ray Perkins defeats Jason Beebe and other minor candidates, easily cruises the victory. Will face off against Ron Wyden in the general election in November. In the governor's races as well, Democratic side, Tina Kotek defeats Tobias Reed. A very crowded field, but again, Tina Kotek wins the Democratic primary. And on the Republican side, Christine Drazen defeats Bud Pierce, will win the Republican primary. Also a crowded field. In Idaho, Mike Crapo, the incumbent senator, defeats Natalie Fleming, easily wins renomination to another term. The Democratic primary, David Roth defeats Ben Persley. This is a safe Republican state, by the way, but yes, Democrats do. The Democratic Party will nominate David Roth for Senate. In the primary, however, this was a competitive one. Brad Little will win renomination to another term as governor, defeating the lieutenant governor, Janice McGeachin, who is actually endorsed by former President Trump. Now, the interesting thing about this one is that when Brad Little went out of state and, Janice McGeachin was the acting governor, she's done some interesting stuff as like revoking COVID restrictions, vaccine mandates, and all that sort of stuff. And this was basically this was not what Brad Little approved of, and it was quite a surprise because normally this is not what relations between a governor and lieutenant governor are normally like. But this occurred, and Brad Little really didn't approve of that at all, so he rescinded those executive orders or those actions made by the acting or the lieutenant governor, who was acting governor at the time. And Janice McGeachin tried to run and unseat Brad Little, who also received Trump's endorsement, but Brad Little will go on to win, defeating the lieutenant governor in this race. And the Democratic primary, Shelby Ruggenstad is actually running as a write-in campaign, defeating Stephen Haidt. His name was actually disqualified from the ballot, but he received enough votes to still secure the nomination regardless, and will go on to challenge Brad Little in the November general election. And then the Attorney General Republican primary, Lawrence Wasden, defeats Raul Labrador. Incumbent, also competitive race, but Lawrence Wasden pulls off the victory and will go on to be renominated to another term. On the Democratic primary, Stephen Scanlon will win the Democratic primary. The Secretary of State Republican primary, Phil McGrain, defeats Dorothy Moon. This is the only candidate on the Secretary of State primary who publicly said that Joe Biden legitimately won the election, but he will go on to win the nomination succeeding the current Secretary of State. And on the Democratic primary, Sean Keenan will win that primary. And we have another key race alert in Pennsylvania. With about 95% of the vote in, Dr. Mehmet Oz continues to lead and increases that lead actually. 14,604 votes ahead of Kathy Barnett, who's still in second place. Dr. Oz has about 27.5% of the vote. Kathy Barnett has 260,964 votes, or 26%. David McCormick has 256,646, or 25.6% of the vote. So, Mehmet Oz, 95% of the vote in, still leading. And I believe we do have a projection that's about to be made right now. And we do. We have a major projection, and we can now project that Dr. Mehmet Oz, the winner, the Trump-endorsed candidate, will win the Senate Republican primary in the state of Pennsylvania, defeating Kathy Barnett and David McCormick. You know, this is something we didn't really think would happen, but regardless, despite Kathy Barnett's huge momentum, and despite the attacks from her and David McCormick, Mehmet Oz has pulled off the victory and will win in the state of Pennsylvania. The graphics have not updated, but they should shortly, and oh, there it goes. So, Mehmet Oz, 99% of the vote in, is the winner with 292,000 votes, 27.4% to Kathy Barnett, 26.5%, and David McCormick is also 26.5%. So it's a close race for second place, but the real winner here is for Dr. Mehmet Oz, 292,221 votes, the winner of the Senate Republican primary. Very huge night for both Republicans and Democrats in this election night, and lots of wins for both Trump and the America First movement. And yeah, so that concludes the May 17th election night prediction. I really hope that you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it and comment down below whether you agree with it or not, and if there's any other feedback that you'd like to provide or give regarding future election night predictions or just anything in general. But this is basically the first voiceover video I've done in over 3 years now. The last one was back in 2019, and a lot has changed, and I just wanted to change things up a little bit different this time around. So yeah, I mean, feel free to give suggestions, feel free to give feedback, and I'll see you all in the next one, which is the next primary will be on Tuesday, May 24th. We have Georgia, we have Alabama, we have a lot of other good races. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching.